I've got the techno on my mind, spending in the club all night. I gotta move my body,
It
body.
has been 2 years since Yonim started dating Jimin. She met him through Jungkook, who is her best friend for the past 8 years. He has always been there for her no matter what. He is the only person who helped her through her school. Sometimes she feels very lucky to have these two boys in her life. They care for her so much to a point where she can't explain. Jimin is that kind of boyfriend who is very clingy and sweet. All time showering her with kisses, cuddling 24/7, and sometimes being a pervert. She was currently going home from work. Her phone died hours ago, and it was currently 12:30 at night. Jimin has always advised her to come home early, but today she was stuck with extra work and adding on to it, she wasn't able to contact him. He was pacing around the living room, worried, sick. Jungkook was sitting on the couch trying to contact Yoonam. Jungkook, what if something happened to her? Jimin asked. No, Hyung, nothing will happen to her. Don't worry. I'll go look for her. Jungkook stood up, picking his car key and up from the table. I'm coming too, Jimin said as tears were very prominent in his eyes. Jungkook noticed this and hugged him, trying to make him feel better. Let's go, he muttered, wiping his tears off. Before they could head out, the door opened, revealing Yoonam, freezing from the cold. She quickly came in and removed her jacket. She didn't expect both of them to be staring at her the moment she entered. She also knew she messed up but tried to play it cool. Hey, she said, trying to put an awkward smile. Where the fuck were you? Jimin screamed as his face showed pure anger. She was taken back by his sudden outburst. She was scared of him. For the first time, he has never raised his voice on her. Didn't I fucking say no to stay out late? Do I look like a joke to you? She flinched at his tone. Her mouth couldn't utter a word. She was almost gonna cry. She looked away, scared he might do something. Look at me when I'm talking, he growled, which made her flinch in fear. Jungkook moved to Jimin and took a hold of his arm. Jimin, let it go, he said and pulled him back, but Jimin just jerked him off. The tension in the room was intense. Everything has a limit, your name. Just because I'm okay with you working doesn't mean you can take advantage of it. He said without emotion and walked to their shared room just and shut the door real hard. She didn't understood how this situation became so serious. She didn't think of much of it. As soon as the door shut, she broke down into tears. She couldn't believe what just happened. Jungkook was emotionless. This was the first time he saw Jimin screaming at your name like that. He looked at her and opened his arms for a hug. She didn't hesitate for a moment and fell into his embrace and cried harder. Shh, it will be okay. He ran his finger through her hair, trying to comfort her. She felt embarrassed as all of this happened in front of her best friend. Jungkook sat on the couch as she laid on top of him, sobbing. He has always been her remedy. He knows how to comfort her, how to cheer her up. I really didn't mean to make him angry, she said, sniffing. I know, you would have never done that. But don't come late here after, okay? Jimin was very worried. He said, placing a kiss on her forehead. She put her arms around his waist and nuzzled her face in the crook of his neck and closed her eyes, drifting off to sleep. After an hour, Jimin came out to get water when he saw Yonim lying on Jungkook peacefully. Jungkook looked at Jimin and smiled faintly. Jimin sat near him and observed her face. It was tear stained, red, and puffy from all the crying. I'm really sorry, baby, he whispered and placed a kiss on her forehead. You should take her to your room. She must be uncomfortable, Jungkook said. Jimin inched closer to her and placed his hand on her shoulder and slowly shook her. She groaned and moved a little. Jimin couldn't help but smile at her cute behavior. She always turns into a baby when she's sleeping. Baby girl, let's go to the room. She again groaned and turned around a bit. Jimin carefully lifted her up like a baby. She wrapped her arms around his neck and placed her head on his shoulder. Her legs automatically wrapped around his waist. He placed his arms under her butt for support. She's still a baby, Jungkook said with a laugh. Jimin nodded and placed a kiss on her neck before taking her to the room. He slowly placed her on the bed and pulled the sheets over her. I love you, baby, he whispered as he pecked her lips.